to create another song, and that was called Hole Hole,
which means slowly, slowly.
Slowly, slowly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Aman and Ayan Ali are sons of...
Ustad Amjad Khan Sahab,
okay,
right.
and
yeah.
he plays the sarod.
They play the sarod, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that collaboration happen? Did you know them beforehand?
Yeah, I knew them. I had met them. They're friends, but we had never sort of gotten the chance to really work together, and we wanted to...
Have they ever done any loungy music?
They've done some, yeah. They've done some very interesting tracks. In fact, one of their songs is Angna More, which is kind of in the similar sort of genre, and it's nice because the sarod lends itself to being very soulful, and it can work very well with that kind of a feel.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you're creating singles now, but you also took a break.
I did.
For 3 years.
Yes.
And did music.
Yes.
How did you then end up at Netflix?
Yes, so I think I was sort of, Netflix reached out to me, and I was actually...
You're one lucky person. Everybody's reaching out to.
No,
Bohemia reached out to you.
Yeah, it was good fun. I'm lucky. Yeah, you're right. I'm really lucky. Yeah, it just happened. You know, they were looking for somebody for leading their messaging team. And they reached out to me, and at that point I was also thinking about joining a startup which was in the music space, because I felt that I was starting to miss some of the high productivity and energy that comes in a tech company, which is very different from the music world, where things are very they're kind of more laid back, and
they're intense in a different kind of way.
They're intense in a different kind of way. So I think given that I had been doing tech for so long, I feel like I was starting to miss that. So the timing was just right, and I came in and met people at Netflix that I really liked. And I think it was really the people and the culture, the fact that they're very smart but also very nice to work with, that really kind of made that sort of decision for me. And then I've been there for more than 3 years, like almost 4 years actually.
And you also have worked with Apple?
I have worked with Apple, yes. So the director of music for Apple, who is responsible for creating all the music that you see on the all Apple products, he was looking to create a Bollywood trailer for their iMovie app. So it was one of the 9 sort of template trailers that you could just plug and play and create like your own video on the mobile apps. And so he found my stuff, and he reached out. We had a good conversation, and then we flew down to Los Angeles and recorded in Hans Zimmer Studios.
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, and he has a great studio facility, and so we kind of got the chance to go there and record there. And it was nice because he was coming at it from a kind of like a Western musician's perspective, who wanted to create a very over-exaggerated Bollywood track, and I kind of was able to sort of understand that and create the lyrics and the melody to kind of give him some of that feel. And so we iterated on that for a month or two, and then created this track, which is very fun. It was like a short, like 2-minute track, which is very interesting.
So you can find it?
You can find it on, yeah, it's on the iMovie app.
Okay.
So.
My final question, because you brought up Bollywood.
Sure.
Do you have any plans of going to...
I would like to, yes. It just requires me to be in Mumbai. In fact, I am speaking with a few movie directors and producers to see how we can collaborate to create something. There's also a lot of work happening for YouTube productions now, and so they're also looking
at
Netflix too. Netflix too, yeah. But otherwise, also there's a lot of interesting content being created for other mediums, and so I'm going to look at seeing what I can create. It's nice to be able to have more control over your music, and so I think that for me is the biggest part, to be able to represent myself the way I feel is best and most honest and me, because I wouldn't want to do a song where the lyrics are some random raunchy lyrics, or I mean, I just wouldn't be able to do justice to that, and I don't think it would be me. And so the challenge is finding something where I can be me, and that's the search.
Devika, thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us.
Thank you.
Hole Hole, you'll get to Hollywood, Bollywood.
Yes, I hope so.
Maybe it's a slip of a tongue. Maybe Hollywood. You never know.
Thank you.
If you missed any of our shows, you can catch them on our YouTube channel. We'll be back again next week with another episode. Until then, goodbye.
This program on women in science, technology, and business has been brought to you by Zoho Corporation.
There's a lot of confusing information out there about the COVID-19 vaccine. It can be hard to figure out the facts, but here's what we know. The COVID-19 vaccine does not contain the live virus, so you can't get COVID from the shot. Most vaccines use mRNA, a protein that teaches your cells how to protect you from COVID. mRNA won't change your DNA because it never enters the nucleus of the cell, which is where your DNA is kept. You may have side effects after getting the vaccine. The most common one reported is a sore arm. Some people experience flu-like symptoms such as tiredness, fever, or headache that usually last less than 48 hours. These are signs that the vaccine is teaching your body how to produce an immune response to fight off COVID. The risk of a serious side effect like myocarditis or blood clots is less than 0.001%. Want to know more? Get reliable information at mass.gov/COVID vaccine facts.
I'm John from Stoneham. Has there been enough research done about the vaccine?
Yeah, John, that's a really good question. Every clinical trial, every vaccine that we have in this country has 3 primary stages it has to go through. The reason it came to market so quickly is because all 3 of those were done simultaneously. And again, we had the money, the resources, the volunteers to prove the safety and the efficacy of this. Get reliable information at mass.gov/COVID vaccine facts.
We want to be that safe space for each other for the rest of our lives.
She protects me, I protect her. We are officially going to start a family. We will protect them from anything. I'm in the fire department and I'm in the National Guard.
Hacking out for drill.
I was tasked to administer the vaccine in Oxford, so I saw firsthand what we were dealing with. We decided to approach the vaccine with openness. A lot of questions were asked. When the vaccine was available to us, we were able to get it.
Her mom is very immune compromised.
We've not lost anyone close to us from COVID. I really think so much of that is due to the vaccine. I don't know what would have happened if my mom would have gotten COVID. I'm glad I don't know.
I got the vaccine for others. I was worried about passing it on.
People are worried about the vaccine and what effects that might have later. I'm worried about living in the time that I have right now. I want to enjoy my mom and my grandparents while they are here. This time right now is precious to me.
Before we start.
Like in the movies.
Exactly. There we go. We're good when you guys are. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 meeting of the Longmeadow School Committee. School committees and other public bodies may continue to hold remote meetings through March 31st, 2023 under new legislation enacted in July of 2022. The statute, Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, extends quorum reductions for remote meetings. All votes, while there is remote participation, must be made by roll call vote. We will begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We will turn our attention to correspondence with our clerk, Kevin.
Thank you very much. The following correspondence will be recorded. An email from Ms. Lori Hatch, dated September 3rd, 2022, regarding Longmeadow Fall Festival planned for October 8th and 9th.
All right, thank you. Moving on to our approval of minutes, there's...
Jamie can't hear anything?
Oh, no, okay.
That's my
Hold
bad.
on, let's see if we can fix that on our end.
Check, check. How's that, Jamie? You got us? Okay.
We're back.
All right.
All right, good. Small problems that we fix quickly. Love it.
Right. So I should probably say that motion again.
Yes, the recommended motion, please.
Okay. I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the August 23rd, 2022 school committee meeting as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Jamie?
Yes.
Gianna?
Oh, yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. All right, we are moving on to our visitor comments. If there are any visitors either online or in the room, raise your hand and we will be happy to bring you in. Herman, I saw your hand first, so we invite you to the stand here.
Of course. This is real quick. Armin Ray, 96 Shadyside Drive, Long Meadow. I came tonight. I missed a meeting earlier when you first started talking about this, but the naming of the History Resource Center for John Fitzgerald. I noticed that I know the petitioners, but I noticed that there wasn't anybody else that came forward to speak on John's behalf. So I felt like I had to come here before you guys took a vote, which I saw was on the agenda for tonight. I served for several years with John on the school committee. Lost to him in an election first time around. For two beings, we could not have been more diametrically opposed in our beliefs of things in the world. But John and I had a kinship and a friendship on the school committee that went beyond all that. He was a wonderful man. I know, he had a long history as a teacher here, and I didn't really know him as a teacher. My kids didn't have him, but I know the contributions he made as a teacher. But I can tell you the contributions he made as a human being to this community to make it better go beyond anything. We were able to get past our differences all the time to come up with common ground, to come up with common solutions, common sense solutions. And when you think of like the world, how crazy it can be today, and how everybody just wants to get on everybody because they have a different point of view, he transcended that with all of us on the school committee. We didn't see eye to eye all the time, but we felt and we found common ground. And just for that, John was a great guy. And as his health failed and you saw him less in the community, he would always have a smile for you, or an anecdote, or a friendly wave, or he would send out his annual tome on January 1st and the Christmas season to tell you about, what's happening in the world, all good and bad. And I miss that about John. He lost, you don't see somebody all the time, but you still have that piece of that ties you to them. And so I think what you guys are doing tonight to take a vote, I would wholeheartedly recommend that this memorial to him be established, and it couldn't have happened for a nicer guy to have served with on this committee. So that's all I wanted to say about John.
Wonderful. Thank you for speaking.
Thanks, Armin.
All right. Any further visitor comments? Come on up.
Yes, my name is Laurie Hatch, and I am chairman of the event coming up, the Fall Festival, Long Meadow Fall Festival, which is basically a continuation of Long Meadow Days. We had to take a hiatus for about 3 years because of COVID, and the Historical Society decided not to do it anymore, and the Long Meadow Post American Legion is taking over. So we've got close to almost 50 vendors right now, and I expect more than that. Craft vendors. We've got a lot of local food. That's the main difference between this one and the last one, is everything is going to be local food vendors. We're not going to have Ben and Jerry's trucks and big generators and that go from place to place and all those kinds of things. And we've had a lot of support from the selectmen, from the school board, from the town manager, from all the other boards in town. We've met with them and so forth, and they're doing their utmost to help us, to move along with it and so forth. We'll be having games for the kids. We're starting out with a parade, which we've had before, starting at St. Mary's, kicking off at 9:30. If anybody would like to march, we'd love to have you. We start lining up around 8:30 or so on Saturday morning. It's going to be October 8th and 9th, by the way. And we're just, we're really excited by it. We've added a couple of things this year. We've added an antique car show, which is going to take place on the north end of the green, right opposite the community house. We've added, the bounce house will be there, the climbing wall will be there. Some reenactors, we hope, from the Revolutionary War, and musical things from the schools. I've written to the principals of the schools as well, and I just got a message back from a couple of them giving me the contact for the PTO group chairman and so forth that does that kind of stuff. So when I go home, I will email them with information as well. But we're specifically looking for, other than volunteers the day of the event, anyone I'd say between the ages of 16 and above, to help watch the games, watch the bounce houses, watch, those kinds of things as well. We are having an entertainment stage like we've had before. We're looking for youth groups. I've been in contact with the high school youth groups, high school music groups, and they're interested in performing and so forth. And I'm sure they'll do a good job. We're just looking for the support of the community. I do have a flyer here which I'll pass around. We're going to start 1, 2, 3, pass them on down for. If you have any questions, my email and everything is on there. But we're really looking forward to it. So let's say we've had a lot of support, a lot of people who love the new weekend.
Just, they might not have heard you at home if you're not by the microphone.
I'm
no.
There's a microphone here.
No, you're totally okay where you were, but.
Okay. Anyway, I just passed out flyers for the event, which I have plenty more. We're going to circulate around town. You see some bulletin boards up, talking about the event and so forth. We're just really excited about it. We've had a lot of interest. We started planning in January, and because we're a fairly new committee and everything was new to us, we could not pull it off in May, so we decided to wait until the fall. And the weather hopefully will be nicer, and we can capitalize on fall festivities. We're going to have pumpkin decorating for the kids. And just about everything is going to be free too, which is good, except for the climbing wall and the roaming railroad, which is coming. Everything else is going to be free. Lots of food vendors, lots of entertainment. The community booths are another one that we'd like. The nonprofits, a lot of the churches get involved, a lot of sports teams, things like that get involved from the community, from Long Meadow, from the community. We have youth crafters, which we're trying to capitalize on as well. Any child between the age of 8 and 18 who does something, whether it's a craft, whether it's a painting. We've had some do ping pong tosses. We've had some do little games and things like that along the way to earn money as well and get the youth really involved. So something we're really looking forward to, and I just want to make you guys all aware that it's up and running and we're getting the word out. So
wonderful. Thank you for coming to tell us.
My email and so forth is on the flyer. Thank you for having me.
Lori, given that we have student groups involved, I think it would be permissible for me to distribute the flyer. I can email it out to our families. So
okay.
If I know you had emailed me a version of this, so we'll get it in a format that's good for email distribution. Okay. So
you need me to send it in a new format?
If you're able, if not, we can convert it. But if you could send it as like a picture file, a PNG file, we'll talk via email.
My husband does all that stuff. I'll see what I can do.
We'll figure it out.
Thanks. Okay, great. Because I would like to get things out, to the schools, flyers around, and get them interested and so forth. The Boy Scouts will be there as usual.
Nice.
We have
one.
We have a Boy Scout here in our midst, Eagle Scout. Eagle Scout?
Eagle Scout.
Eagle Scout.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to tell us about it. Best of luck with the event. Looking forward to it.
If anybody has any input, let me know.
Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. Oh, yep. Go for it.
Lori, so I'm Gianna Allentuck. I sent you an email, but I just wanted to thank you in person for doing this. Super exciting. It's a celebration, and these guys can tell you I love the celebration of anything.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Yeah, I do too.
I'll be at, speaking of celebrations, I'll be at my son's. He goes to the Coast Guard Academy, so I'll be there volunteering. But my husband is with Long Meadow Robotics, and they're super excited.
Oh, great. Oh, that's right, too. Yeah, he did say he was with some new kind of a robot that he's introducing this year or something. He really wanted. I haven't seen a form yet for him, but oops, keep reminding me. The application. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll contact him. He's just across the street from Association.
Yeah. So, but thank you so much for doing this,
Okay, well,
and to everybody involved.
Exactly. We're trying to get the whole community. That's it. It's a community function.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any additional visitor comments? Is there anyone online other than Jamie?
That's it.
Okay. All right. So, seeing no other visitor comments, we'll move on to school committee announcements and recognitions. Is there anyone with school committee announcements or recognitions? Go for it.
You know.
I know.
You're probably going to do the open house, so I'll do the
perfect.
Special Education Alliance of Long Meadow it was so, I wish I could have taken pictures, but they had a meet and greet on Saturday at Bliss Park, and the sun was shining, and the Key Club students from the high school were there helping out and playing with the little ones, and they're running around and giggling and playing tag and going on the playground equipment, but and that was beautiful. But the parents and families, talking to the other parents and families and just getting support and making connections and and getting resources from the SEAL folks. Megan and Diane were there, and it was just a beautiful event. And again, didn't hurt that the sun was shining, but I think it was the smiles and the smiles from the kids, but the smiles from the adults feeling welcome and feeling, connected to other people who might have similar questions and needs. So it was beautiful. So thank you, SEAL.
Wonderful, thank you. Glad to hear they're back in for the school year.
Yeah.
Good to go. Any further announcements or recognitions? I'll tuck in my note about open house when we do the chair report. All right, moving forward, business with guests. I see that we have none, and so we will roll right into administrative reports. Superintendent.
All right, so a few items for your report tonight. One is some of the back-to-school events that are coming up. Longmeadow Pride Festival is Sunday, September 18th. We have a middle school public information forum on Friday, the 16th at 10 a.m. here in the central office, so hopefully we get a good crowd for that. We have elementary back-to-school nights. Lori talked about the Longmeadow Days Festival, and then another middle school information session is scheduled for the Adult Center at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, October 12th. Couple notes regarding COVID. I think I've mentioned before that we're in a really favorable position and that we're at a position where we can ease restrictions. We have currently 10 active reported student cases across the district, and we are still expecting staff and families to report positive cases. No longer necessary to report out-of-school exposure as it had been in the past, but positive cases, it's super helpful if we have those reported to us. Our principals will still communicate to some degree with families on the extent of COVID activity in their schools. Once a week, they'll provide just a quick note to families on the number of active cases, so families can kind of keep an eye on things. And then if we're seeing any clustering of cases in particular classrooms, we'll have some targeted communication on that as well. One of the things I know that has been of interest to the committee is the accessibility of our elementary playgrounds, and pleased to report that work is ongoing in that area. The most pressing need was to make the playgrounds, to make the equipment accessible in a way that students could socialize out on the playground. And so after some back and forth and some research and some determination of what would be compliant, we have an order in place for rubber safety matting that will be extended across the elementary playgrounds. We're expecting that to arrive mid-October, and installation will follow shortly after that. We have, thanks to Tom Mazza, we've ordered some handicapped accessible picnic tables, and kind of a neat project that is going on. Tom has been in touch with some of our high school art teachers to think about ways to design the asphalt areas out in the playgrounds to put some stencils, some stenciled designs on the asphalt portions of the playground to make it sort of engaging and create some game-like atmosphere for kids on that portion of the playground. So there's a lot of coordination and design work involved in that, but that is ongoing. And then kudos to the town for continuing to explore grant opportunities. I expect that we will see some activity with community preservation funds in the coming fiscal year. And then I think the committee is aware of the sort of major active recreation study that is underway on the town side as well. And of course, accessibility of all active recreation spaces will be a focus of that study, among many other things. Something we talked briefly about, but definitely is worthy of an update, is what's called an MVP grant, the Municipal Vulnerabilities Preparedness Action Grant. And this is tucked into the town's strategic planning, but a component of this program is to create opportunities for students in civics action settings or in extracurriculars to be engaged in climate-focused projects, so it's exciting. We're trying to gather some students to attend a Youth Climate Summit in October sponsored by the Mass Audubon Society. The Mass Audubon Society is also willing to partner with us to shepherd and mentor civics action projects that are focused on climate resiliency, so that's exciting. I expect that will be sort of an ongoing effort. I think the committee's well aware of the traction that we have received on some of the civics action projects at both the middle school and the high school. And there's also some PD, professional development opportunities for staff who might be interested in working with students who have an interest in climate studies. So thanks to the Assistant Town Manager, Corinne Meis-Munes, for shepherding that project and for working closely with us. And then some notes on the middle school project that I'll save for later as it comes up in your agenda down the road. So if you have any questions on any of those, happy to answer. If there's anything else you need info on, let me know.
Wonderful. Questions or comments? Yep. Kevin and Jen?
So I just want to thank Marty and everybody for helping with the MVP grant. You won't be surprised that the Energy and Sustainability Group is very excited about this. So from that committee to us, I just want to express their thanks and their excitement about this project. So they're super excited about teaming with us. So Marty, thanks to you and everybody else who is working on this, and I'm excited for the students to see how that goes for them. I think it's a really neat opportunity. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Gianna?
Superintendent, yeah, thank you for all this. I know the middle school project, I was like, just in the beginning stages of collecting information from, from the community. So I know the first public forum was at nighttime at 7 p.m., I think?
It was at 7 p.m.
Okay, because the next 3 are all during the day.
Yep.
And like, I get there's going to be, but there's going to be more at night, right?
We'll schedule at least one more additional night event, and then I was also planning an online event as well. So we'll get those dates out. It'll be a sort of a slow, not a slow, but a regular, steady opportunity for families to understand what's happening with the middle school project, including we taped a LCTV event last week, and they will begin airing that on Thursday. So that's myself, the town manager, Nick Gigantis, our facilities director, and Principal Nicole Allen having a conversation about where we stand with the middle school project. So hopefully there's plenty of opportunities for folks to learn more through any of these events, but we'll definitely do some night events on top of what we have scheduled.
Yeah, I figured, but I just wanted to ask just to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then, Nicole, I had a question for Tom, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Tom, thanks for all the work on the rubber safety matting and all those efforts. I guess it's really not more of a question than I'll touch base with you, not offline or whatever, outside of here, but we, at Brookings, we did a similar project where we painted. We worked closely with the Bay Path OT students, and so I'll connect with you on that because it came out amazing. And it also had sensory components and OT components, and it was all hand painted by the Bay Path students and myself. Like, we didn't need any kind of fancy pants stuff going on. We got the paint donated, and we had the students paint it, but with a sensory and with an OT component in mind, it came out really great. So I'll talk to you about that. I also have a question about the rubber matting for Brookings. So sorry, Diane, I kind of tilted my school committee hat there, but I didn't take it fully off. But I'm using my experience to help with your efforts.
Great, thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. Any further questions or comments? I'll just add on to say that I know the elementary accessibility has definitely been a concern and a conversation that we've been having for some time now. So thank you to all of the school department people who've put some time into beginning that process, and to the town for helping move that forward at all of our playgrounds. And I look forward to seeing that continue to develop and become more accessible as we move forward.
If I could just piggyback on that, Nicole, I just want to acknowledge some of our art teachers. They were instrumental over the summer in working with our adaptive PE teacher to kind of get his input on some ideas about the blacktop and making it interactive and something the students, all students can participate in and play with. So just want to acknowledge their time and effort too, the work they did. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, we are moving on to Assistant Superintendent reports. I don't see a note, but I feel like I saw something.
I have one, small one.
I was like, I felt like I saw something in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give you a quick update on some of the things that have been happening, and we'll be bouncing around between the start of school and now, so bear with my timeline. But I'm pretty excited to talk about our acceptance into multi-tiered systems of support academy. With the rising challenges of social and emotional and behavioral learning in schools, Department of Ed gave us an opportunity, or gave schools an opportunity. We applied, we got it, so we'll do a 3-year facilitated academy with them, taking a look at our current practices and looking at good Tier 1 supports, and then adding Tier 2 and 3 and making sure that those are sustainable in the long run. So we are recruiting our staff to join us in that. We know it's a pretty big commitment of 3 years, but we're hoping that we get some adjustment counselors and school counselors on board and teachers and admins. So really looking forward to making some movement and progress in that. And regarding UDL, Bridges in Mathematics rolled out in elementary, and I haven't heard any complaints. So we, except that we had to deliver a lot of product the day before school started in our trucks. So thank you everybody who helped with that delivery. But that's our lightning alert. Sorry.
Lightning detector.
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
All of our elementary educators got almost full day of PD before school started on the second day of school actually, and got a really great start on planning their first rounds of lessons, their first unit. Their coaches were instrumental. We have 2 coaches, thank you very much, at the elementary level for mathematics, and they have just been knocking it out of the park with professional development. Today they had special education teachers in specifically targeting intervention professional development. They will meet with each team of teachers at each grade level every 6 weeks to start to plan the next unit to roll out, to answer questions. They'll do one-to-one coaching. They'll work with administrators, and so kudos to them. And they also bring chocolate to their meetings, so that's excellent. Middle and high school had some PD, and they planning for UDL, Universally Designed Lessons, kind of a review for them. And then our educators this year are being asked to tie in at least one of their educator goals into UDL. So that's been helpful. We sent some guidance out on that for them. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Middle school STEAM is up and running. We're ordering some really cool things for the STEAM classes. So happy to see that those are going well. The teachers there are really super invested in this 6th, 7th, and 8th STEAM. So I'm hoping kids love it too. Regarding equity, we had a great presentation from middle school faculty by James Schultes on LGBTQIA+, kind of the basics, and the faculty were asking tons and tons of questions. Everybody felt great when they left. He was a really good resource for us, and we'll likely come back throughout the school year and talk to maybe individual teams or things like that. So he was very helpful, and the middle school staff was super engaged in this PD, so that's great. And then similarly, middle school and high school took a look at the survey data from Challenge Success. We took it towards the end of last year, so they haven't had a chance to dive really deeply into it, but they did do that as 2 big groups and identified areas where they could utilize the VOG competencies to shore up the areas that we kind of fell short in that survey. So kind of hard to explain, but they were pretty into the work. It was great. I think Marty already talked about it, but we did have a safety training the first day of school, kind of out of the gate. Not the most enlightening topic for the first day of school, but people really appreciated that the PD and Marty put that on for them. So In other news, we are super busy recruiting new staff and getting licensure for our folks. If anybody knows a fourth grade teacher floating around, we still need one at Blueberry Hill School. One more. We were able to find one really great teacher last week, and then we have a math specialist spot open there too. And we have several paraprofessional openings, so have folks come even if they feel like they just want to try to sub. That would be fabulous. I think Marty already also talked about the Close Community Grant got renewed. We got double formal notification now, so we're good to go. And this morning they actually work with Safe Houses, and there was a meeting this morning on that. So they're thinking about combining those two programs a little more closely. And they are also funding our elementary health techs or prevention techs, the BOP and life skills. So thank you, Close. The Student Anti-Racism Committee right out of the gate met September 7th. So the seniors who were running that were super concerned that it wasn't going to continue on, but they did a nice job in their leadership. So the freshmen, sophomore, and juniors picked up where they left off, and they're working right along. Really appreciate that. And then we have a lot of collaboration projects that you'll hear about throughout the year, but we have an elementary ELA review going on, middle school scheduling. The middle school admins are working with a consultant to look at scheduling best practice and to see where we might make some changes to, for better for students and faculty. Marty talked about the program studies review, NEASC, and the DEI advisory is ongoing, and then the MTSS Academy. So lots of kind of collaboration work this year we're looking forward to now that we can meet in person. It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
That is a nice touch.
Yes.
All right, questions or comments for Sue? Kevin?
Sue, thanks. This is great. It's really wonderful to see all of the great stuff that's going on, underneath the things that we've been talking about at a higher level. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And absolutely shout out to the Close Community group. It's such an important group, and it's so important that grant got renewed. So just, I think everybody that's involved in that understands the great work that they're doing. So, yeah, thank you.
Pass it on. Thanks.
And Gianna?
Oh, thanks, Nicole. Sue, echo, thank you so much for all of this, and I still love the way that it's laid out. My question is about under where it says linking the challenge success survey data with the VOG competencies.
Yeah.
Middle and high school reviewed and identified the pertinent challenge success data. And then my question is, so it says worked in teams to develop ways to teach the VOG competencies to address concerning data. What's the, we probably looked, y'all probably showed this to us, but when I see the word concerning, I just think.
So what areas stick out where we feel like we need to make a change? Either flatten the curve or get more excited about it or whatever. One of the things I'm remembering is the word competition came up. It's a pretty competitive environment, especially at LHS. Not as much as middle, but still at middle. And it potentially encourages students to take many AP courses or strive for schools that might not be the best fit for them, but because that competitive nature is happening, that they do that. So thinking about what competencies might students be able to enact in order to make better decisions. Not probably the best example, but things like that. So when I say concerning, I don't mean life-threatening. I mean, what could be better? We always can do better.
So in culture and academics?
Yes.
There's gaps, and y'all were trying to figure out how to use the VOG to bridge those gaps.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So many great things going on, and really excited to hear some updates about all of those, and even more excited to maybe start seeing some folks coming in to share the cool stuff happening in their buildings and their classes and their departments, maybe beginning now that we're underway in the next couple of meetings at some point. Would be awesome to start seeing that again, show off a little bit of the awesome stuff that's happening out throughout the district. All right, any further questions or comments for the assistant superintendents? All right, chair report is next. A couple of quick Housekeeping items. First up, just reminders of a few events that are coming up. We have the second annual Longmeadow Pride Festival on September 18th, and I know that the school department as a whole has a number of representatives going and participating. The school committee, as a committee, we are also sending a representative to speak, and Zach has graciously offered to be the one to do that. He's had a role in that in the past, so he was excited to take that on, and will be able to speak on behalf of the committee for us. Longmeadow Days, or Longmeadow Fall Festival, sorry, beginning again for us October 8th and 9th, and we're looking forward to that as well. A shout out to everyone for the Longmeadow High School open house event last week. That was fantastic. It was a lot of fun, a great chance to see everybody's classrooms and hear all the wonderful things everyone is planning, and for the staff and families who participated, thank you for coming out and making that such an awesome night. And I know that our middle school one is coming up next week and elementary the week after that. So thank you in advance to all of the folks who are going to be participating in that as well. We have two other things to talk about. The first is our school committee annual goals. So the school committee every year devises annual goals that focus on the improvement of the Longmeadow Public Schools, and we are about to begin that process. So everyone has in their packet a copy of the goals that we approved and worked on last year for 2021-2022, and I am recommending that everyone spend some time over the next week or so drafting about 4 or 5 goals that will help give us some direction. The structure of this would be that those goals can be sent directly to Marty and Diane, who will then next week spend some time sort of bucketing those into categories and seeing where they find some connections and some overlap, and putting that together for us to discuss. So timeline-wise, we would love if everyone could take a look at what the goals were for last year. The goals do not need to be the same categories. They do not need to be the same as last year's goals. This is just to give those of us who are new to the process the opportunity to see kind of what has come before, and help give them some ideas to start off the conversation. But any goals anyone can think of, if you need help discussing or planning goals, you are welcome to contact Marty, you're welcome to contact me, and we can have some conversations related to that. We would like to have goals by next Thursday, the 22nd, sent in. So within the next week and a couple of days, by next Thursday submitted, so that we can plan on discussing our goals and setting goals at our meeting on the 27th. Questions or concerns related to that, timing-wise? Yes, Jan.
Thanks, Nicole. So one question is, if there's a goal on here that is working,
in progress,
we can just continue it?
Yes, you could definitely have one of the goals you submit be, this is a goal that I see, it is still an in-progress goal, I want to see us continue working on it, and absolutely have that be one that you push forward.
Okay, and then if one hasn't even, like, I'll just say my policy.
If something hasn't happened
policy,
yet. Yeah.
Just I can keep it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, go for it. This will give us a chance to maybe have some open conversation in the next meeting about exactly what we want those goals to look like. So anything that you can think of that is within the purview of the committee, definitely send our way. And then last but not least, related to the Mass Association of School Committees, the MASC and Mass Association of School Superintendents, MASS, conference is coming up in November. And now I have forgotten the date. The first weekend?
Yeah.
Second weekend?
It's the first weekend.
Thank you. That first weekend, I will be attending, and I'm happy to report back afterwards about what happened. I am not able to attend the entire event, so I will only be able to be there for a portion of it. But one of the things we also wanted to draw attention to is that every year the MASC puts together a series of resolutions. You will find those resolutions in draft form in your packet as well. And there is not a schedule of events yet, so it is as yet undetermined if I will be there for the voting in of those resolutions. However, when we get closer to that, and we know actually when that voting will happen, if I am there, we can address as a committee if we would like for me to vote on behalf of the committee, and what those votes could look like. So just something to keep in the back of our minds as that gets a little bit closer. Anything on there?
No, with regard to the
Expansion on
goals,
goals.
Diane and I will send a note to the committee tomorrow and we'll give you some last year's goals, the district improvement plan, and then individual school goals, if that would be helpful to you in developing school committee goals. So I think we've done, up and down across the board, we've done a nice job of keeping our goals aligned, and our school and district goals have been reflective of the school committee goals and vice versa. So that obviously creates some forward progress for all of us. So we'll send you that information tomorrow.
All right, so keep an eye out for school improvement plans and district improvement plans to also help inform your goal making. One last thing is to also keep an eye out for a scheduling email to arrange a school committee administrative retreat. We'll begin figuring out some possible dates that we can get that on the calendar for. All right, moving on from there. Student representative report. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. After my summer vacation, I am back in full swing, ready to go. So starting off with clubs at LHS, moving forward, now that our COVID protocols are very little, students are allowed to or have the opportunity to get back into clubs, back into any of the extracurricular activities that they love. A special thank you to Assistant Principal Drowick. She set up a club fair. It was much like a job fair before the Wellesley football game, where there were representatives from every club. They had a booth, and you could go, and students could go up and ask questions when they meet, what their club's about, what they do, and to speak to their leadership about that. And if you believe there was a scavenger hunt that if you went to all the clubs, you could get a free ticket to the football game. It was an amazing plan, executed very well. So thank you to her for that. On the subject of athletics, LHS likes to win. What can I say? Volleyball right now in the gym competing. Field hockey's been having a very successful season. Soccer as well, boys and girls. And then football, I'm a team captain. You know, Wellesley did not go the way we expected. 35-15, not so happy about that. But we are ready for Neshoba this Friday coming up, so we're ready as a team. Class activities. The freshman class is just getting into their elections now to select their officers for the next year and possibly the next 4 years. So good luck to all freshmen who are running for that. The junior class is really focusing on fundraising right now. So I don't have any specific dates for you for their fundraisers, but I know they're working really hard on that. And then the senior class, my class, thank God, it's almost over. Class 2023. Senior Sunrise was the first Friday of the first week of school. Most of the senior class, a good portion of us were on the football field like 5 a.m. to watch the sunrise, just take pictures, have coffee, donuts. It was a real fun experience. Our senior class play committee has gotten together. They are starting to form their leadership and what we are actually going to do for our senior class play, which will be coming up. And then all I have to say now is thank you to all the LHS students who have elected me to another term on the school committee. It's my last one. I'm going to make the best one possible, work hard for you guys. And then thank you to the committee for having me and my future work, my continuing work with all of you, and then for my future work with our new friends on the committee. And that is all I have to report.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Moving on to other reports. LPVEC. I know Mary is not here today. Did we get an update?
No.
Okay. Energy and sustainability.
We met recently, and Marty updated on the MVP grant, which that was a bunch of what we talked about. We're definitely continuing to talk about just home energy audits and encouraging everybody to take advantage of those home energy audits. There's going to be, we hope, a booth at the Fall Festival. And so, yes, if people have questions, I hope they'll visit us at the booth and really think about how you can save a whole bunch of money with these home energy audits. If you're thinking of doing anything, putting in air conditioning, a boiler, all that stuff, the home energy audits are a one way that you might be able to get a bunch of money to help you with those home improvements. So, yeah, that's what we've been focused on.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seal.
Thanks, Nicole. So I already mentioned the Seal meet and greet that happened on Saturday and how beautiful it was. But Seal is back in business as usual. So Seal, SEALMA.org And please visit, the calendar of events is up there already, and their first meeting is, I gotta look at it myself, but it's up there, sealma.org. And again, your child, may or may not have special abilities, and we just want to build a community, and we're talking about diversity and inclusion, and that takes everybody. So please go ahead and check out sealma.org. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Tax Ceiling Task Force, any updates?
No meetings scheduled or recent past.
All right, thank you. Subcommittee reports. We are moving on to Finance Subcommittee, who I think met today.
We did, yep. Tom, you want to take it away, give them an update
Sure.
on what we talked about?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Finance Subcommittee met earlier this evening. They received a brief update on the FY23 budget in support of some ongoing efforts throughout the district. I also noted that we are considering a district curriculum coordinator position for music, so it would be a K-12 position. It is not something that we have had filled in the district in a while, so it is something that would be new for the FY23 budget. But we'll keep Finance Sub up to date as we proceed with that. We also had preliminary discussions around the FY24 capital project process. We have asked principals to send any requests they may have for consideration for funding for capital funding for FY24, whether it be educational or instructional needs or facility-related items, with particular note towards building safety, whether it be needs for enhancements to the buildings, to existing systems, or some changes to some current operations that would help enhance the safety of the building. So Finance Sub, once we receive those, we'll put together a list based on prioritization, bring it through Finance Subcommittee for their review, and then have it at a school committee meeting sometime in October, with submission to the town manager in early November. So we will be reviewing those projects at our next meeting, either at the end of September or early October, with a plan on bringing it to the full committee in October. And then the last item on the agenda was the FY22 end of year general fund turnback. In their packet and in the school committee packet is a general fund budget report for FY22 showing basically the amount of activity that occurred on a line item throughout the course of the year, and any unspent funds in the general fund at this point would have to be turned back to the town. We cannot use them for additional expenditures. So we have a balance of $567.12 that we would have to turn back. So there was a recommendation at the subcommittee meeting to have the school committee vote to return those funds. So we would need a motion and approval from the committee in order to turn those funds back.
All right, does anyone have either questions or a motion?
Happy to give you a motion.
Go for it.
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee authorize a turnback of $567.12 of end-of-year funds in fiscal year 22 as outlined in the FY22 General Fund Budget Report dated September 9th, 2022.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any conversation on this motion? Gianna?
My ear, I know I'm getting old, my ears are getting old. You said $527?
I said $567.12.
$567. So you didn't say 500, though.
$567.12.
We said the same number. For real.
I swear to God, you said 500.
Did I?
I'm
They would appreciate that
you know.
more.
Well, that's why I was a little bit excited. Okay, so they said the same thing?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All righty. Yes.
So I just want to point out, I mean, Tom, the work that you and your team did to get us to this number, it was significant. So just thank you for that. We know how hard it is to reconcile everything and to come in at this number. Again, we know how hard you work. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a nice number there. All right, any other thoughts or comments or feedback? We will move to a roll call vote. Jamie?
Yes.
Deanna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes for me. All right, wonderful. Is there anything else for Finance Sub?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So, hey, if I can just add one additional thing, just so you're aware. So that capital planning part of that, we did have a discussion about priorities and thoughts initially from just that finance subcommittee, and gave some direction there. But just so you know, the detail around that, we went through all of the different schools, their initial projects, and both Kevin and I weighed in on overall priorities. And as Tom said, we'll bring that to the overall committee, and then we'll all get a chance to kind of reprioritize if need be, but we'll take the first run at it.
All right.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you for taking that on. All right, Policy Sub, no report, correct?
Nicole, we had a meeting scheduled, and then for assorted personal and professional reasons, I had to reschedule or ask that we cancel, and we will reschedule.
All right, perfect.
Is that correct to say, Diane? Thank you.
We will look forward to a report at a later date then. Curriculum Sub met on September 7th. Mary is our chair. Do you want to take that?
Sure.
Would you like me to?
There were two items that were discussed at Curriculum Sub. One related to a topic that Sue addressed earlier, and that is our efforts to have more coordinated, explicit approaches to social emotional learning. And part of that will be supported by the MTSS Institute that Sue described earlier. We have an opportunity to send a team to the MTSS conference, but more than a conference. It's a program that lasts for the better part of 3 years, and it will put us in a position to be more explicit with regard to SEL instruction and supports, particularly at the K-8 level. So the other item that the Curriculum Sub talked about was where we were with the Program Studies Review at the high school. This was a study that was approved by the school committee back in the spring, with the hope that we would have a completed report by the end of October or early November. Pleased to say that we're on track for that. Don Bodette is our contact at the New England School Development Council, who is coordinating that study with us. And essentially it's to take a look at our offerings to understand the extent to which they are accessible and inclusive and provide a pathway for students that is in line with our vision of the graduate and what we hope for a child's learning experience here at the high school. So we have there's some preliminary work that the consultant has done, but it needs to be sort of checked and validated against via some focus groups that will be conducted at the end of September. So focus groups will consist of some groups of students, some parents, and some staff who will explore some of the questions that were the topic of that Program of Studies review. So it feels like we're in good shape, and I'm confident that we would have a completed report in line with with the timeline that we had hoped for back in the spring. So so it was a great discussion at Curriculum Sub about where this Program of Studies review could point us in some potential future directions for us. So.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just a special note, as someone who's on the Curriculum Sub, both of these are very heavy lifts, both of these projects that are underway. So a big thank you to Sue and to Marty and to everyone else who's been helping out on this. It is exciting to see both of these things moving forward, and extra excited that there's the partnership there with MTSS.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and we'll help move that forward even more. So appreciate all of that hard work. Evaluation Subcommittee. Oh, yep, John,
Can I
go
just
for it.
ask a question about that? So, thank you, Nicole and Superintendent, for all of that about curriculum sub. The social emotional learning piece, like you said, Nicole, I mean, that is huge. So curriculum sub is going to continue working on that. Is there a way, and y'all are probably already doing this anyway, but I just want to, as a school counselor myself, I just want to, like, can you invite the school counselors to a curriculum sub meeting to help them guide you in that work, or?
To help the curriculum sub guide the work of the school adjustment counselors, or the?
Well, just to hear from the school counselors, adjustment counselors, guidance counselors,
Yep.
all of the people that are involved with that on it, because it is such a huge thing,
Yep.
and I would hate to see it like curriculum sub of school committee people is telling.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think maybe perhaps when we assemble the MTSS team, when the team that is assembled to go to the MTSS Institute, that might be a good group that we could draw from to sort of report to the committee on where we are and what our hopes were for that institute that we'll be involved with. Would that make sense? Is that?
Yeah, and I mean, we're all educators on the school committee anyway, which is cool, but, I think it's helpful if a subcommittee is talking about social emotional curriculum and learning, that they hear from the people doing the social emotional and,
Sure. Yeah.
instruction.
Whatever would be helpful to the committee, we can assemble that. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that perspective. Other thoughts? Good. Okay, awesome. Evaluation Subcommittee. I see a note here. I'm not sure if there is a chair for that yet, so just go with what that is. So that subcommittee is scheduling a meeting now regarding the superintendent's annual plan. That is Jenna, Jamie, and also Julie will be serving on that committee this year. So more on that as the committee work continues on. And thank you to all of you for that work. And next up is our Building Committee Development Subcommittee. It's going to just be a tongue twister of a name forever and ever more. I don't think we've pulled it off without it being in writing at any point. So the Building Committee Development Subcommittee met on September 7th, and I know has a report for us. Jen, are you taking that?
So I'm going to kick it off.
Sure,
Superintendent.
yeah.
I get to kick it off because I was so enthusiastic about all of the candidates were just amazing. Like, we had one candidate come, and then they'd have all this great stuff that they shared and all this great experience, and then we'd be like, yes. And then the next one would come and be like, oh my goodness, now they have this whole other bucket of, it was fun, but it was also like, oh my goodness, this is like the hardest thing ever. So just thank you to all of the candidates. Again, just ridiculously awesome, and your enthusiasm about serving, and just all positive, positive words for you and appreciation for you. But we did have to select two, we picked two names to recommend to the whole school committee. So, Superintendent, I'll let you take it from there.
Sure, yeah. So some background for folks that might be watching at home. One of the requirements working with the MSBA is to have a school building committee, and the MSBA provides some guidance on the makeup of that school building committee, but there's also some local autonomy and some flexibility to identify members of the community who bring some special interests and qualifications and talents to be part of that building committee. And so the approach here was that some of the at-large seats would be chosen by the select board, and some of the at-large seats would be chosen by the school committee. So the school committee has the task of identifying two members of the community to serve on that school building committee, alongside the other members of the building committee that are sort of more required for participation by the MSBA. So we had, as Gianna said, we had a great list of applicants, all very qualified, and the Building Committee Development Subcommittee, how'd I do?
Well,
yeah, I think I got it. That's the first time. They were charged with reviewing the applicants, meeting with the applicants, and bringing a recommendation forward. And from the great pool of applicants, the subcommittee had identified two for your consideration and recommended two for your consideration. One is Mr. Armin Ray. Armin is active, has been active and a member of the school committee. He currently serves on the finance committee in the town and has long been a contributor and a supporter of school activities and has a good sense of our purpose and mission, and also has some experience with the high school building project. The other candidate that was recommended by the subcommittee was Carissa Rosenblum. Carissa is a longtime educator, has some specific middle school experience, but has also worked at really all levels from pre-K right through higher ed, so comes with a great understanding of education, and I think in the meeting with the subcommittee, she demonstrated a strong vision that will help the building committee. So for your consideration tonight is a recommendation from the subcommittee to appoint Armin Ray and Carissa Rosenblum to the building committee.
All right, I'll open this for discussion and or motions.
So I'm happy to do the motion.
Sorry, Kevin, can I just?
No, sure.
Superintendent, thank you for framing it that way. I just also wanted to remind people, and you do it way better than I do, but there's going to be so many opportunities, and we're hoping, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, appreciate the teeing that up for me. Yeah, it was very difficult, obviously, to choose from the pool of qualified applicants, but as we discussed that night, there'll be so many opportunities for members of the public to be involved with this project if it progresses. There'll be ad hoc focus groups and visioning committees, and just plenty of opportunities for folks to provide feedback at public meetings and gather information at public meetings. So it truly will be a community-wide effort, and the building committee will be central to the work, but there'll be plenty of opportunities for anybody who wants to be involved. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
I move on the recommendation of the Building Committee Development Subcommittee that the school committee appoint Armin Ray and Carissa Rosenblum to at-large seats on the school building committee.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Open this for discussion. All right, seeing none, I will just note that it was excellent to see everyone come out. It really was just an abundance of talent. We are a very lucky community. We had so many wonderful people who stepped forward and were willing to serve, and knowing what that time commitment and energy would require, were still willing to put themselves out there. And we just heard from so many wonderful folks, and we hope people will continue to remain involved throughout this process. And thank you so much for taking the time to come out and talk to us and put your name forward. We really do appreciate that. All right. Any further comments or questions? We will move to a vote. Jamie?
Yes.
Gianna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Thank you very much. All right, we are moving into ongoing business. And the first note for ongoing business is the naming of the Longmeadow High School History Resource Room. The school committee held a public hearing on August 23rd, 2022. No opposition was received regarding this application. The application is to name the Longmeadow High School History Resource Room after John J. Fitzgerald. We heard a public comment on that earlier. John Fitzgerald is a former teacher, department chair, and former school committee member, and this is an honor that's been in the making for a few months now. Anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it. I think we've had so many opportunities to recognize a great individual, and our speaker during the public comment period said it better than any of us could, how much he has contributed to this town and this school district. So
wonderful. All right, with that, I will entertain any motions.
I move that the school committee approve the naming of the Longmeadow High School History Resource Room for Mr. John J. Fitzgerald, and direct the superintendent to develop a plan in accordance with district policies and procedures for signage and/or plaque development and placement.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we will move to a roll call vote. Jamie?
Yes.
Gianna?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes for me. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we move on to the middle school project update. And for that, we turn our attention to you.
Thank you. So we are continuing to work on the requirements of the eligibility period of the Mass School Building Authority. That includes, right now, we are working actively on an educational profile that is required by the MSBA. It's to give the MSBA some initial sense, some preliminary sense of what our programming currently looks like and what we might aspire to, but again, just sort of on a preliminary initial basis there. We also have to provide the MSBA with information on our our maintenance practices. And then on the town side, the town finance director is actively working on the language for the warrant for the October 25th town meeting, where we would potentially seek approval from residents on the funding for that feasibility study. And so a quick reminder to anybody who might be watching, based on some of the cost estimates that are publicly available, we believe that the feasibility study would be wise to seek authorization at $1.6 million to cover that feasibility study. It's an extensive study that takes a look at enrollment patterns, the existing sites, does traffic studies, and also involved in that is a deeper dive into our educational programming and and we start to look at what our space currently looks like and what our space could look like to serve students. So that is ongoing. We expect that warrant language to be finalized and approved very soon. So we mentioned some of the outreach and engagement activities that are underway. Just really quickly again, this Friday in this conference room, we'd love to invite members of the public to learn about the project. Wednesday, September 21st, 10 a.m., also in this conference room, and then Wednesday, October 12th at 1 o'clock in the Longmeadow Adult Center. So there's a number of opportunities, and we'll add some more as well. I'll share with the committee via email a timeline that I've put together that I've begun to polish up for some of these public presentations, but just to give us some idea of what the project timeline could look like. I'd qualify this by saying that much of the pace of the timeline is often dependent on what's happening. It's more often dependent on what's happening at the local level. The MSBA has regular fixed milestones, and they're very good at meeting their obligations in terms of moving a project along. But for us, it's a matter of hitting all the requirements, beginning with a funding agreement for the feasibility study. Following that, in a good chunk of 2023, we would be working with the school building committee and town boards to identify consultants for the project, meaning the owner's project manager, and identify a design team. And then once those consultants are on board, then the actual feasibility study is conducted. And that feasibility study, depending on the parameters and the scope of it, could take anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So it's a pretty lengthy process to do the work that's involved with that feasibility study. The end result of the feasibility study is option identification, meaning it's that point where you've had extensive conversations across the community, you've done extensive studies of what's needed and what's possible, what's educationally effective, what's fiscally appropriate. But at the end of that feasibility study, hopefully you've identified a solution for the community to consider. And then from there, you work with the MSBA to engage in developing a design and a project scope and budget. And at that point, once again, you go back to the community for authorization of for the budget for a middle school project. So that could be what I just described, that sort of that town meeting where you might seek authorization. That could be in 2025 or 2026. So again, a lot of this is dependent on how how thoughtfully and effectively we work at the local level to go through all these different signposts. So I'll share that timeline with the committee, but I guess the point of all this is that this is a long, extensive process, and that leads us to the next item for your consideration, and that is to identify 2 members of the school committee to serve on the building committee. And so we don't have to make that decision tonight, but we will need to decide by your next meeting. We'll have to firm that up because we have to get the roster to the MSBA by the end of the month. So at your next meeting, we'll need to decide that. I would welcome any conversation, any questions that the committee might have in terms of the, what's involved with that. Being on a building committee, it's a significant commitment. It's exciting, it's engaging. You learn a lot. It is an opportunity really to be involved with the consultant selection, to be involved in shaping and approving designs and bringing forth to the community a project scope and budget. So it's a fairly involved process. I would anticipate that it would not be too labor intensive in the first year to year and a half, but then as we get deeper into the feasibility study, it would become, my best guess would be perhaps twice a month at the peak of the project, and then it would sort of taper down after that. But it's a multi-year commitment. What I've seen best practice is to have some stability. That doesn't mean, if obviously committee members on all boards and panels, they come and go, but if we can put something in place that gives us some stability for the long haul on this project, that would be great. So next meeting, we'll talk about that, but if anybody has any questions, I would welcome those, and certainly Tom has experience in this as well, and he can provide some insight, and Diane even has been through this, so we're happy to chat about what that looks like. So.
All right, wonderful.
All right, that's it.
Questions, comments related to middle school? All right, we have no new business. We have no executive session, and we are ready to make our last motion for this evening.
I move that the school committee adjourn the September 13th, 2022 school committee meeting.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any final discussion? We'll move to a roll call vote. Jamie?
Yes.
Jana?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. The open session, or not open session, the meeting is adjourned. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you all again on the 27th.